Hello guys, I'm Elias. We're here in my first video on this beautiful Annie Sky channel. Let's go with the anime of the blue demon Ao no Exorcist. Like and subscribe, and remember that if you don't do that, I'm going to steal your mothers. Let's get to this. I know what they will enjoy. The anime starts with a round table, and they talk about a zombie experiment in which they have secret agents infiltrated in those experiments to spy on the scientists. And they talk about the secret group still does not have a container for Satan. And they say that Phalus has a portal where many demons accumulate. And that is why the earth is very contaminated. And they say that at this rate, the entire population will end up seeing demons. And they say that if the demons get stronger every time the humans feel it, the earth will be chaos. And they talk about a possible traitor, and so that they do not suspect Phalus. We see how he says that he is using his own body to try to stop the demons. And in the classroom we see Yukio saying that he has a message from Phalus, saying that they will advance the Exorcist exam and that they will have to submit the application again. After Okamura tells Yukio that if he were to return late, and they talk about the dinner that Yukio eats, and that it is not that good. And he leaves after talking to Okamura and Shiemi, and she asks him, our protagonist, what's wrong with him, since he has a slightly unfriendly expression with his brother, and says that he's surely looking to be distant with Shiemi, and says that he's like this because he hates losing him. Then we see Suguro and Kamiki talking about the arrival of the Exorcists, and they think that they're surely going to talk about the arrival of the Exorcists. And Kamiki tells her that if she's not thinking about being one, and she says that she emphasizes with him because she lost her goal and people around her, and Kamiki says that she's going to be an exorcist. And he says that she changed, and the meeting with Mephisto begins, and they talk about the activity of the demons in recent months. And they say that the Exorcist exam will be next year, that it will be in a month and a half. Also, that they will increase the quotas of the exorcists drastically, and demons appear in the middle of the presentation of one of the teachers that Mephisto has that the Vatican sent, and says that it is the precise moment for him to show up. And we see that he is an air demon of a very high level, since the ritual he is invoking requires a high capacity, one of the Archknights known as Lightning Lewin. And we see how the room is full of students, including exorcists. And it is logical since they want to learn about lightning, and in what he teaches the class. We see that he has a somewhat strange attitude, and says a phrase that makes the entire class doubt, saying, "Make friends with the demons," causing almost everyone to leave except the main characters. And that Okaruma finds strange what he said, and we see that they go to a room that is very dark and smells bad, and uses a spell to make it clean. To which Suguro is impressed. We already see that this character is going to be surprised by each thing that Lightning does, after Lewis gives him some advice that children should know each other better to work well as a team. One of the demons makes a small cut to Rui, to which he says that he is going to do an exorcism to the demons, to which Suguro continues surprised by the mastery he has of the demons, and Lightning says that he read about him, that he learns the lethal spells by heart, and says that he will be a good exorcist, and he answers that he only wants to defeat Satan and reunite with his family, that is his ambition, and tells him that he is not clear about his priorities. Suguro asks him what his goal is, and Lightning says that he has no dreams or grand ambitions or a sad past or anyone to avenge, and the most he can say is that he loves this world. And Suguro gets on his knees and tells him that he wants to be his disciple, and everyone is surprised, and he says no, since Lightning is not good at teaching, and continues insisting on being at least an assistant, and Lightning says that he will be his disciple if he passes him the red demonic sword at the end. Lightning. He gives him as a task to clean the room. After they clean the room, Lightning and Suguro talk about some cards that have invocations, and says that after cleaning the room he can take the sword, and says that that is Okamura's sword. It is not good to joke with it. Then he drops the box with the cards, and we see how one of the cards is summoned, and Suguro has to take care of the cards before a demon comes out. He realizes that it is a test, and we see how he struggles with the cards, and we see a card that is in Hindi, and he does not know how to counter it. Then he sees a firearm to face the demon, and it turns out that the soul is not really a firearm. According to later, we see how lightning destroys the card and says that the most basic thing to stop this invocation is to destroy its circle also by exorcising the card, and he says that he thought he was smarter. And we look at him with a face of disappointment to finally accept him as his disciple. And then we see how he tells him to continue cleaning the room. Then we see how Rui leaves, and Lintning tells him that let him touch his sword, and he sees how he really likes demons, saying that they look like love, and he leaves thinking a little strange that he is, and we see that Kuro is outside waiting for him. We see Lightning talking to Shura about the demons that are unclassified, and they talk about the mark that Shura has on his chest, and we see Yukio very thoughtful thinking about his brother, and says that he passed the order exams, that his case is a hereditary case, and analyzes how to awaken the powers first with Todo and then with Lucifer, and says that the key feeling is fear, and says that he has to generate that fear of life or death, and makes an invocation where he almost drowns to try to generate that fear. We see Rui with his friends. We see him talking to them, where Shima tries to guess about what Suguro is doing and says that he can't be Lightning's manager, and Koneko says that she is studying in system development to capture demons with the cell phone camera, and Shima will take the Night and Tamer exams and says that he is going to make a little effort, even though studying is boring for him, and he arrives at Suguro to eat with them, and says that he is going to help them study, and says that he has to get used to Lightning, since he has things that he doesn't have, and the boys, they are surprised since they didn't see it coming from him. Then we see Yukio, who is about to jump from a very high floor and says that he will spend his life fearing himself and the Illuminati, and he jumps and says that he is scared and that he doesn't want to die. Then we see Shiemi talking to Amahara, and he says that he doesn't want her to be an exorcist anymore, since it is a very dangerous job. Then we see Rui and Shiemi talking near the mission, and he says that she doesn't feel anything for him, and they meet a demon exorcist who gives him a mission. He tells him where the holy water and the house are, and he leaves, and they talk about which Meister they want to belong to. And Rui says Knight for the sword, and she is still thinking about it. And Rui realizes that there is something in the house and falls to the ground, and we see the boys how they are hurt. Rui tries to remove the stick that has his leg, but if he removes it, the whole place will fall. Shiemi tries to ask for help, but nobody listens to her and they talk about their captain. He will return, and that he almost does not listen to his brother, and Shiemi says that his mother is also worried it is normal that they are, because they are his family, and then he says that he is cold, and we see how Rui do tricks with his blue flame. He tries to do the form of Kuro, and then he says that he likes flames. We see a romantic scene of our demon Rui, and he says that they are warm and pretty. We see how the two blush, and Rui says that he only likes him as a friend, and that she cares about both of them as much as his brother. And he says that he does not like them as a couple, and she says no, that she is still a child, and she realizes what Rui thinks, that he likes her as a couple. And they see how little demons come out of where they are, and he decides to blow up the place, and in the end, they end up leaving, and then she ends up running away in shame. Rui talks to the exorcist, who commissioned the house to him, tries to apologize, but he scolds him. Then Shiemi comes back and says that he has to take care of his leg, and remembers a flashback where she is helping him. And then we see Yukio surrounding him, blue flames around, wondering what happened next. He looks to his right and sees a gun and decides to point it at his head, saying that he should have done that from the start, and starts yelling for the monster to show itself. But his phone rings suddenly. He answers it. And that's it, guys, is the summary of Chapter 1 and 2 of The Blue Exorcist. Remember to subscribe and like and comment, because if not, I will appear at night, I will eat you, and I will marry your mothers. Goodbye. This has been Elias. We see a character running through the snow and climbing a tree. We see her face, and it is a small Shura after a small scolding by Fujimoto. In the present, we see her complaining again about the snow. Rui and her brother talk about the fate of Shura Mephisto, telling them that she went there because it is her town, says Felis being these in charge of following Shura. But Yukio wants to go alone without his brother, and Fellis tells him that he does not care about his opinion and calls his attention for training in a dangerous way, saying that he must enter in a balanced way. In Tawada, the Okuruma enter a lodging, asking if there are people. An old woman with a terrifying look comes out to treat them. Then they settle in a good room, giving them the best of the lodging. Then outdoors, taking hot springs, they talk about the mission and how carefree Rin is. But he says that he is very happy to hunt demons with his brother. But Rin brings up a topic of conversation, and it is about Yukio's training that yes, it really is very dangerous. And if he is fine, and he says lying, that he is just practicing shooting, and blames Fellis for mentioning the training in front of his brother. But she changes the conversation to not talk about that, and talks about what happened with Shiemi, and that it will be uncomfortable for him to talk to her, and tells him that he only sees them both as friends. But Yukio, with more experience and maturity, tells him that he is misinterpreting him, that she admires his facet of model student, and that she is like that since he met her, that if she knew how she really is, she would be disappointed. But he says in his mind that she really is in love with someone. But he does not finish the name, and before Yukio leaves, he tells her that if he is also in love with her, and he leaves because he is embarrassed by the conversation. And already, both in the dormitory, Rin wants to bring up something of a conversation topic, since he never tells her anything, but he does not want to, and says that he feels like him sometimes, but that he also knows that something happens to him and Shiemi too, and that she worries about him. And in the morning they talk about the mission, and the old woman brings them breakfast. But Yukio gets stressed and says that they are looking for their friend in an intense way, and the old woman says that she spent a night in the accommodation. Later we see Ashura fighting with demons in the middle of the snow, and we see how she is talking to a demon called Hachiro, and he threatens her already in the accommodation with the brothers. They ask the old woman if she heard where she was going, but she doesn't know. And they talk about the information they have about her, and that she was raised in Tawada, and other important data such as that the Order rescued her at 9 years old from the Baba Yaga case. And Yukio says that despite knowing each other for a long time, the only thing she did was bully him, and was already talking to the demon. He tells him to have a daughter since he needs a blood pact, but no agreement is reached, and the demon blames Fujimoto for how he raised her, and the demon prepares to attack her. And Shura says that he already knew that this was going to end like this. And the fight begins, and the demon attacks her first, making an attack that faints her. But the scene shows that they really did not attack each other with everything she had, and the demons detect humans, and Hachiro leaves her to be saved, and it is the Okurumas talking about Shura and Rin. I feel a danger, and when they go to that place, Shura comes on the ground, hurt. They take her to the accommodation, and we see that she is conscious. The boys have a little conversation. She realizes that Mephisto intervened, and she confesses to them that she is going to die soon, since she made a pact with Hachiro, the god of snakes, who was the demon that we just saw when she was in the snow. And Yukio knows who she is, and he believes that a monk defeated him millennium ago. But it turns out that the regeneration that he has makes him almost immortal. And she talks about their pact that is going to kill her according to her. And she says that she did not do it on her own, but an ancestor of hers in exchange for the magic sword. And she bet the lives of her descendants. And we see the story of her descendant who was a girl like her, but she was a deserter, and almost the ninjas of her own village killed her, and she about to die meets Hachiro, but Aspirin defeated her very easily since it was too much difference in power, and she is honest before the feet of the devil and says that she does not want to die yet, and that she wants to recover for herself, to humiliate the people who humiliated her. So he saves her and gives her a fang that transforms into a sword, and makes a deal that if she wants a stronger fang, she should offer her beautiful hair or nails. But she really liked the sword, and he proposes the deal to dedicate her descendants to him so that the pact is maintained. But she can only live until she is 30 years old. And she accepts. He puts the mark and the sword on her. And how is it the boys wait after listening to her story? They want to help her. But she says that she does not want his help, since she prepared all her life for that moment. That is why she avoided getting attached to people and avoiding things that she could regret. In a good way, and told her that he doesn't believe anything, her brother separates her from her and says that he will see him when he is old being the best exorcist after they go out to communicate with Mephisto, and Rin upset. She says that Rin will learn to live without him. Although her brother worried her a little, Yukio analyzes the possibilities after Mephisto said that they could solve it between them, and he says that they should annul the demon pact. Rin feels the presence of the demons, and they go to Shura's room and see that he is no longer there. And we can see how she is in the snow, a small Shura trained by the demon. And to test the skill that she had with the sword, he made her do tests related to other villages. But one night, trying to escape from a village that she had entered. But Fujimoto captures her and looks face to face with the demon and makes an invocation to the god of fire to purify the demon. And Shura is amazed at the tremendous power that he has and jokes with him, telling him to get married. We can see that he takes her to a train. He asks her what her name is, and she only tells him her last name, and out of shame, he gives her his name Shura. And in the present, you can see her talking to the demon, and the demon tells her that since she is healthy, he brought her to this temple, and she makes eye contact in which she is paralyzed, and she says that she used her powers only so that people are close to him, and she offends him by telling him that with his immortality, he will remain alone forever, and says that she is not the woman he loved, and says that she is from him, but with his control powers he controls her. The hero of the century, Rin, and his brother arrive, but the demon attacks them. Rin realizes how strong he is, and the demon realizes how special our protagonist is. Yukio realizes that he can't move, and of his powers of hypnosis and control to Shura, and she gets on top of Yukio, stares at him, and wants to take off the belt from his pants. But suddenly we see the blue flames of Rin, which causes intense pain to the demon, which makes Shura stop being under his control. And suddenly he sees how the blue flames cannot be turned off. And we see how our boy says Satan slash, and the fight begins, and they talk about how the demon will not get away with it, but Shura takes out his sword and tries to take his life, but the demon avoids him. Yukio tries to face him and negotiates with him to make a pact with him, and he tells him that if he makes the pact with Shura, she will take her life. So he agrees to make the pact and says that first, he will have to get rid of the pact he has with her and give it to him, and that he should not worry about his daughters, since he is going to impregnate her, and says that he cannot do it. Since he is a demon, also insinuates that he should be ashamed that he is doing that with a woman through mind control. The demon refuses, since if he breaks the pact, even if he has a daughter, she will be able to grow old. And Yukio says that if it bothers her when I get older, he can kill her. And he says that they cannot do that. Yukio says that if he can remove the restriction of the sword, and that she will die anyway. And Yukio, in a very serious tone, says that when he has the girl, he will kill the previous Tatsuko himself, also the next one when she gives birth, and he will create an organization that will continue the work when he dies, that he has money, but only the demon has to give him what he wants, since with the magic sword and the regeneration, he will be at the level of Rin. But his brother is very upset and says that he should stop. But Yukio says that he wants to get stronger, and with Hachiro's powers he can achieve it, and takes out the gun and says that he doesn't need it. And Rin, annoyed, says that he can't shoot him, and shoots him. And Shura, confused, says what is he doing? But he, in a very cold way, tells him that instead of dying being useless, that he dies being useful, and that he should not resist fighting against him. And the demon has her with his tentacles and removes the seal to put it on Yukio. And Okuruma gets on his knees and tells him that thanks Hachiro, that he will get everything he has thanks to him, and says now Rin, and Rin appears behind him to hit him with his sword. And as expected, it was part of a plan, and uses Satan campfire and sets him on fire with his blue fire, and his brother kicked him, saying that he scared him, and tells Shura that he is now free. And she remains thoughtful, saying in her mind, freedom? She tried to grab the sword, but the demon captures her, and you see how the demon is still alive, and the tentacles grow giant, saying that he will kill them all. And Yukio asks her why she left him alone, knowing that he was immortal. And Rin, before attacking his brother, tells him to wait since he can control it. With his gaze, Rin tries to attack him, but unfortunately, he saw the demon with his eyes, and someone attacked the demon by throwing something at his eyes. And it turns out to be Shima, saying that he was training, but the snow did not let him continue. He tries to go on the attack again, but Rin manages to control him again. And Shura says that he must stop, but the crying demon says that he can't. And Shura says that it's time to go to sleep in the lake forever, telling him that he will stay by his side forever. And the boys realize that the demon is moving towards the lake. And we see how the demon takes her to the bottom of the lake, and she says in her mind that in the end, she can't escape from Hachiro. And she says that she always knew that she was going to die, and remembers what Yukio told her, that she is free. But she doesn't believe it, saying that it's just a nice thought that she was only going to have a daughter and die, and that she didn't know what it was like to live any other way, and that she is content knowing who is going to die with Hachiro in the lake. We see how they sink, and there is a flashback of Fujimoto and her, and we see her with a muscular man, and Yukio appears, her childhood telling her that he is calling her father, but she refuses and tells him that she should go, and goes to Fujimoto. And he advises her that she should stop going from boyfriend to boyfriend, and that she give herself her value since there is gossip about her. And she tells him that he never pays attention to her, and takes off some of her clothes and puts her chest in front of him, and says that she should live with dignity like an exorcist, since she has 10 years left. And she tells him why live like this, if she is going to die in the same way, and she wants to do what she wants, and tells him that she does not even know why she is alive. And Fujimoto tells her to eat and drink, to have a good family, to sleep well, and that he is afraid of death. And he puts his exorcist suit on her, and in the present, she wonders if she really wants to live, and the flames of Rin appear under the lake, and the fight begins. Let's go to Rin with our eyes covered with our hands, Yukio, and Shima, attacking the demon using Satan Bomb, and Campfire effectively attacking Hachiro, and Shura is left watching how much Rin has grown in power. And his brother says that the names of the attacks are ugly, and he says that they occurred to Shura, and we see a flashback where he is training with her using fire, where he explains to her that the attacks can be used by giving them a name. They will be more effective. And in the present, we see a blue flame lighting up the lake, and Shura swimming towards the fire, and Hachiro begins to claim him, saying that he is not going to betray him, and uses a tentacle to bring her, and says that she is his. And we see the past regeneration of the demon being even faster than the regeneration of our protagonist. And his brother emphasizes it. And we see how Shura is trapped by the demon, and Mello, that they are going to do a combined attack on the tentacles, so that when she falls, Shima and Yukio catch her, they go to the attack. And being in front of them, Shura tells Hachiro not to betray him, do harm, but captures them, and squeezes Yukio with the tentacles, but she very angry escapes using the sword, and frees him, and tells him in his face that she is determined that she is going to live. And the demon calls her Tatsuko, and Rin tells him that her name is not like that. Her name is Shura Kirigakure, and sets him on fire with the flames doing much to him, damage, and says that humans will never understand what immortality is, but says that Rin will understand it since she is between both worlds, asks about the snake. And we see a small snake that goes away and says Yukio, that from so many times that he has regenerated, it will take a long time to return to his original form. And Shura, with much empathy, says that he will reach his spring, and that he is also free. Shima meets the boys again, asks about Hachiro, and Rin tells him not to worry. He escaped. But now he is a small snake, asks about Shura. And we see her that she is very thoughtful about everything that happened. She gets up and tells the boys that now she is not tied. Nothing will change her life, all this. And she started by cutting her hair and starts making jokes with Yukio, and Rin laughs and tells him to calm down, that he will be a paladin, and gives the brothers a hug. She is very grateful. And we see a flashback with Fujimoto, saying if something happens to him, who teaches the boy he is taking care of, how to use the sword, that only he can do it. Ask her and we see little Yukio. And although he refuses and tells him that, if he knows what she is like, and he tells him yes, that he knows what she is like, and says in the present that he had a face of knowing everything, except that he was going to be free of the mark, and some exorcists appear to help them. And Shima tells Yukio that if the demon had stuck the sword in him a little more, he would have been immortal. And he begins to make fun of the role that Yukio was playing, and tells him in a more serious tone that the usual thing is to form the lies around some truth so that they have an effect. And he puts on a serious face and says, "What is he insinuating?" But Shima says that it is only a saying, but nevertheless he says that with that body he can no longer train in dangerous ways like he has been doing. And Yukio is surprised and says that he is Mephisto's spy. Then he tells him that he warned him once that if he feels all those feelings to talk to someone or join the Illuminati, but after that conversation we see how he stares at Shima in a very anxious and stressful and then fainting. In Mephisto's office we can see Shura talking to him, and he tells her that he is very happy to see her and tells her that the sword she has still maintains its form, despite losing her pact with Hachiro, and that there will be many demons who will want her, and says that he will take care of her. It is also said that the Illuminati are looking for what remains of Hachiro, and Shura says that he cannot move away from the lake area, and Felis says that surely because of Rin's attacks, he could have escaped from the seal. They have planes and everything necessary to track him, and wonders if Shima has something to do with it, and says that he is a double agent, and that he has a lot of work, and Shura demands that he do things right, since he always has a plan, since Yukio is injured by the mission, and he injures Felis, and says that he really changed and threatened him, that if something happens to them, he will stick his sword in the underground library. We see Lightning and Suguro investigating about something, and Lightning tells him that it is about the Illuminati and Suguro. He tells him that if it is for Shima, he will not help him, even if he betrays him. He says he is part of the family. Lightning refuses and says that despite being a key figure, the Illuminati still do not trust him, and that is why he is in. The Japan branch investigate about Mephisto and the Okuruma since he took care of them, since the Blue Night. He was preparing them since before Lucifer declared war. The name Illuminati, since that night, began to be said frequently, and continues making theories about the Blue Night, and says that they hid a lot of information about this Blue Night, and says that he will make them talk while eating a hamburger. Suguro, in his mind, says that he became a disciple of a madman. While they leave the library, he says that he will investigate about some old exorcists, and says that he left the hamburgers, and Suguro goes after them, and we see that Lightning is talking to someone, and that is Shima. Wonders how he found out, and says that he has a rattlesnake demon that knows his location, and if he goes with the Illuminati, he will know, and says that he should tell him where their base is, and he refuses for fear of being killed. Lightning tells him sarcastically that he could die in peace being a double agent, and Shima jokes about it and tells him what he plans to do with Suguro, and if he uses him to get the information, that he is not going to do it since he is a man of values, and tells him that he respects him even if it does not seem like it. And he, while he leaves, says that the only thing he wanted was to pressure him, and if he bothers him, he will tell Felis. And in the hospital, we see our boys with their teacher, and they leave little by little, each one wishing Shiemi luck. After all, Shiemi and Rin are left alone, feeling ashamed of each other, and Rin can't stand it. But before leaving, she says that thanks for what she told her, that she loves him too. He is happy and stands in front of her and asks the difference between romantic love and that of friends. And we see how her friends are listening to everything. And Rin says that she does not know the difference between loves and proposes to go out, and says that if they go out, they will kiss and do things as a couple, and makes a monster face while Shiemi is in shock, and the girls pretend they are leaving the bathroom and Rin leaves, and at night the girls talk about love, and how she sees that everyone is mature, and she does not know what love is, and she cannot convince her mother to be an exorcist and wants to earn respect. And at home the next day we see how her room is very clean, and the girls begin to study about love, and we see scenes where the girls are sharing, and Shiemi excited about what she reads. Then Izumo goes out to get some air and meets her mother, and they start talking about Shimi, who is the first time she brings someone home, and how shy she is, and how she took longer than the rest to talk when she was little, until Yukio came to be her private teacher, and Izumo says that for that reason, she is against her being an exorcist, when the reality is that she could be a great exorcist, and apologizes for being shameless, but she does not care, and Izumo out of shame goes to sleep. And we see like an image of Shiemi in a round garden, and the image of Yukio appears introducing himself to her, and sees how he tells her with love that he knows demonic practices and plants. She looks at him with great admiration, and Rin appears telling him that she wants him to be what he wants to be, and cuts a root. And we see how she comes out of the stem, and she in her normal form says to wait while she sees her friends, and wakes up saying that now she knows the difference between the love of a friend and that of a couple. And the next day she sees Rin with the boys talking and brings up the topic of conversation with the boys present, but she apologizes for not being capable in love and says that she can no longer be his friend. And suddenly, Amemon appears at school and is seen with Rin, and Shiemi pushes him and says that he will forgive her if he runs away on all fours like an animal, and she says no, that he will be an exorcist, and I throw a punch at him, but Rin catches him, and they throw a few small blows, and in the middle of the small action the bell rings, and he says that he is going to leave since his brother gave him freedom, but instead he will have to be a good student, and Rin apologizes to Shiemi, but she says it doesn't matter, and that she starts her class. But before leaving, Rin tells her that they will continue being friends, and that they will become exorcists together, and says in his mind that he doesn't want to fight with his brother, and the boys comfort him. And at night Suguro and Lightning go out together, and he gives her a list with the name Igor Neuhaus, and says that he is missing. But we see two other exorcists that he goes to look for, and we see how the events happen, in which Lightning uses somewhat extreme methods to talk to people, says Suguro, and begins to doubt him, even though she doesn't want to, and they end up in the Southern Cross Monastery where Rin and Yukio grew up. Well guys, this has been the summary of the chapters of Blue Exorcist. Remember to subscribe or I'll steal your mothers.